Hey everyone, welcome to the full Val Mode podcast. I'm Val Emmons. Today, I want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. Something that affects our families, that affects everyone's families. I'm talking about opioids today. We have a huge problem in this country with opioids, and what people fail to understand is that this is biochemical warfare. It's literally biochemical warfare against our country. It is killing our citizens in droves. And I want to talk about this because today the news came out that a major Florida drug bust happened, and one that didn't just stop a criminal network, but it prevented what law enforcement is calling a mass casualty event. 15 people were arrested in the FDLE's Operation Nottingham, and agents seized 14 pounds of fentanyl. That doesn't seem like a lot to you, 14 pounds, but that's more than 3 million potential lethal doses. To put that into perspective, the Pensacola metro area has around 39,000 people. This single seizure alone contained enough fentanyl to kill every one of them several times over. This wasn't a routine operation. This was a life-saving intervention. Across the country, law enforcement no longer talk about fentanyl as if it were just another drug problem. They describe it as a weaponized synthetic opioid manufactured with the industry efficiency, trafficked by powerful criminal organizations and capable of killing in milligram quantities. Powder instead of missiles, chemical compounds instead of bullets. But the effect is the same. Our communities become devastated, and they remain devastated. Many officials say the scale and lethality resemble a form of chemical warfare on the American public, and I've said that for years. This is biochemical warfare, and not because of a military declaration, but because of the impact mirrors one. Make no mistake, Florida intercepted a deadly payload, and the pipeline behind it is global. So here's what the DEA, DHS, and federal intelligence agencies has confirmed openly: that most fentanyl isn't made in the United States. Mexican cartels manufacture the bulk of it in a clandestine lab. The precursor chemicals, the key ingredients, are produced and shipped by companies in China. This is why Donald Trump has put these major tariffs on China. This is why this is a big deal, because they keep allowing it to get to us. They slap people in the hand. They're not going hard at the people that are making this stuff in their country. This is not speculation. This is documented law enforcement fact. Chinese chemical suppliers ship precursor ingredients. Mexican cartels synthesize them into fentanyl. The product is smuggled across the U.S. border in bulk, and American communities pay the price. No missiles, no armies, just an illicit supply chain capable of killing hundreds of thousands. Some national security analysts describe this as a modern face of chemical agent devastation because the death toll rivals warfare without a single shot fired. But here's the part that the story that most people never connect. The fentanyl crisis didn't begin at the border. It began in the doctors' offices in America. For years, pharmaceutical companies led by Purdue Pharma, who's the devil, in my opinion, they saturated the country with prescription opioids, keeping millions of patients on long-term regimens with no tapering plan and no warning about the dependence. In fact, they even put them on studies for years. And these studies were free, by the way. They didn't cost the patient a thing, except for their dignity after they ripped them off a bit. Then, almost overnight, when legal pressure grew, those same companies and prescribers cut patients off abruptly, cold turkey, with no support. Millions of dependence patients were left to suffer without any help. Withdrawal alone, and that was in the 90s. We know now how hard it is to get off of this, to get off of an opioid. And into that vacuum came a cheap, synthetic, deadly substitute, straight fentanyl. These people spend years on these prescription opioids after surgery or going to the dentist. It takes 3 days, by the way. 3 days to become an addict. When you get a Hydro or a Oxycontin prescription at the dentist, your 15-year-old kid can become an addict by just going to the dentist. It's important that we have these conversations because the next generation may be smarter than us, than this generation and the one in the 90s. But, they trusted their doctors. They trusted the system. They trusted medication that they told them that they needed. And then one day they cut them off. No tapering, no guidance, no support, nothing. Withdrawal, unbearable withdrawals. So these street drugs feel like the only option to folks back then. And, they stopped managing their comorbid conditions like diabetes just to survive the pain of the withdrawals. They spend final years in a nursing home, on the state, on the country, paying for that, for a free drug and a trial. And then they abandon them into a market now dominated by fentanyl. And that story is my own story. My father spent 7 years on prescription opioids after a back surgery went wrong, and I didn't know he was taking them. I didn't know for 7 years. Purdue Pharma would send them to his house. And they kicked him off cold turkey because he wasn't taking it enough. And they kicked him off cold turkey because he wasn't taking enough of the pills. No help, no support, nothing from the withdrawals. I found out literally the day before my graduation from Arkansas State University. And this isn't just a one-of story. This is what rural America looked like. Like, I graduated in 2005, so I found out the day before my graduation from college that my dad had been on these things for 7 years, and the day after my graduation, I had to put him into rehab. That moment was the moment he became the addict. It wasn't the 7 years prior to that. So my question has always been, when do you become the addict? When they take it away from you or when you're taking it? But that's never been addressed, how they just shift these people out of these trials without help. No, nothing. Like, it's unbearable for people to survive these withdrawals. 7 years he was on this stuff. And the only way that we got him off of it was my family decided to put him in a nursing home. He was flooding his apartment. He was not taking care of his diabetes because we're worried about spending his Social Security on street drugs. He lost his ability to walk over the 10 years that he was in the nursing home. He slowly came back, but he wasn't my dad anymore. Like, my dad went from being a DJ on the radio, and back in the 80s, 90s, 70s when he was doing it, it wasn't just click a button. Like, you had to have good motor skills. You had to go all over the place, push some buttons, put records on, 8 tracks. Like, you had to know what you were doing. My dad, after this crap, he couldn't even work a computer mouse. He had no internet. He didn't know how to use any of that because it killed his brain cells as well. And Purdue Pharma, you think they paid for him to be in a nursing? Nope. You know who paid for that? The government. His Social Security, his Medicare. They paid for his nursing home. Yeah. So how many of those people do you think our country paid for to just die like that after Purdue Pharma's little experiment? And how much money do you think Purdue Pharma made off of these unwittingly people who trusted their doctors? Chemical compounds instead of bullets is now what we're facing because a lot of these people got hooked on fentanyl. The effect is still the same. Communities are still devastated. Again, chemical warfare on the American public. So this is crazy. The fentanyl crisis, it's kind of like they latched on to something that was already happening in the United States and they ran with it. And now they're making all this money off of it. And so when they seize 14 pounds of fentanyl, it's not just a criminal victory, it's a human one, because every pound of fentanyl seized intercepts a pipeline of destruction. Pharmaceutical companies created dependence, doctors maintained it, patients are cut off abruptly, withdrawal drives them to the streets, fentanyl fills the vacuum, families are shattered, and death follows. Over 100,000 people a year. Operation Nottingham didn't just remove drugs, it removed the chapter in that chain. Fentanyl isn't just a trend, it's not a wave. It's a nationwide chemical attack level threat delivered through criminals' supply chains spanning multiple countries. But this week in Pensacola, Florida won that battle. 14 pounds of fentanyl are off the street, thousands of lives are saved, and one of the deadliest pipelines in the world was interrupted, at least for now. But this war's not over. Every family that's been touched by opioid knows that. I know that. And the fight continues because my family has watched my dad, who for the last 10 years, I'm sorry, I'm going to get emotional here. For the last 10 years, he wasn't able to go to Thanksgiving dinners with family, Christmas dinners, because he was immobile and in a nursing home and had to have special equipment to get him out. He wasn't able to have his life, and I didn't understand it all either. And so I feel like maybe I abandoned him a little bit because I was so angry at him when he would call me and call me names. And, now he's gone. And though our last conversation we had right before he died, he was still in there, but he was also high functioning autistic. And, that's something in the 40s that they didn't really understand or know about. And now that I've done my research on it, I'm going to fight for people like my dad because he could have had a better life and they took that from him. Death isn't always the worst thing possible. Try living in a nursing home, not able to see your family for 10 years. I mean, yeah, we went and visited him and stuff, but try having that taken from you, the ability to leave, to go where you want, your freedom. Try having that taken all over an experiment that you participated in from a pharmaceutical company that is sitting up there drinking their cocktails on Christmas with their families when you can't. So, sorry, I don't usually get emotional, but that one's filled with a lot of stuff for me. So it all comes out sometimes when I talk about it. Like right now, this 2 days Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was always the day that my family got together and had their little, and my dad was always the jokester of the whole thing, So anyway, I just wanted to bring this to attention today. And I want to say I feel for those who have lost family members that won't be sitting with them maybe for the first time this holiday season. And also, even if it's the 10th year, it still hurts. And these people need to be stopped. They need to stop taking our people from us. They have to stop. They have to stop taking our family members, our friends, our children from us. And the only way to do that is to understand that this is a war on the American citizen. It's a war. And it has to be stopped. If you want to help, just talk to your children about it. If you talk to your children about this, it will make the biggest difference in your life. Make sure they understand. Do not even try it, because this is something that we know what happens. You're going to become an addict. There is no, oh, I can take it in small doses. There is not that. Make sure that you know that your children, when they go to the dentist, they're not getting a prescription for opioids or hydrocodone that they can become addicted to in 3 days. Just talk to your family, talk to your, you won't, sometimes you don't even know people are on it. Like, make sure that people are aware of what they're taking at the doctor's office, and make sure that your children are aware that fentanyl can just be, the scary part about fentanyl is it can just really literally be put on someone's fingertip, and then you can shake someone's hand. That's the really scary part about fentanyl. Like, you could be in a club and just brush up against somebody's hand or shake somebody's hand or that has it in their hand trying to do evil, and they can kill you. That's the really scary part about all of this. So, and then they'll say that you overdosed on fentanyl, and then you get accused of overdosing. How many times do you think that's happened? That's scary. This has to be stopped. It has to be stopped. Fentanyl has to be put down in this country. It's killing our people in droves. More than war. More than war. They know they don't even have to come on our soil. They just ship this little powdery thing that comes in a baggie that kills millions of people. Literally. Millions of people. Well, I'm out. Have a great holiday, and I will talk to you after Thanksgiving. You've been listening to Full Val Mode with Val Emmons.